Hi, and welcome to our webinar this evening. My name is Ashley Weehee. I'm your communications manager here at Concordia. We're about to get started and just wanted to give you some instructions for how this evening will work. Tonight we have Mr. Michael Tome with us, head of school. We have Mr. Patrick Fricking, our principal, and Mr. Joshua Summer Meyer, assistant head of school with us. They'll be here to answer your questions. So if you have any questions, you can put those into the Q&A box and we can see those and answer those as panelists. We'll answer some by text and some live, and some it may be one of those where we'll get back to you on those, but we'll make sure that all those questions are getting answered. You also have the chat box if you have any questions and the Q&A isn't working. So right now I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Tome to start us off.
Well, good evening, everybody. As Ashley said, my name is Michael Tome, head of school here at Concordia High School. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We wanted to put out a couple of webinars here so that we can get questions answered as we head towards the end of this academic school year. First off, happy Holy Week. And this week, as we focus very much on the sufferings and death of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and also his glorious resurrection, really brings into focus for us the very reason why we have Concordia Lutheran High School. Certainly an academic institution that seeks to encourage academically, to provide opportunities for students, their families, but really through the Christian worldview, through the Lutheran lens. And we wouldn't have that had this week not happened. So we're tremendously excited to be able to celebrate this week and to focus our attention on Jesus, as we always do. So happy Holy Week, and we'll get started tonight with a word of prayer, and then we'll jump in with tonight's program. So if you would please pray with me. Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you so much for this day, Lord, for the beautiful sunshine that you've given us today. Lord, we pray that you would keep us ever focused on you. Specifically, Lord, as we travel through this Holy Week, Lord, as we celebrate the institution of Holy Communion on Maundy, Thursday, Lord, as we reflect on your death on the cross, taking our sins upon you on Good Friday, and then we celebrate the victory that you have by your resurrection so that we could all have life eternal with you. Lord, we thank you for that. And we pray, Lord, that ever more so we focus on that message, not only here at school, but in every part of our lives. Lord, as we go through tonight, we pray, Lord, that the communication that we would give is clear, and that, Lord, as we move through the end of this school year, that we'd be able to do as much as we possibly can for the student experience here. We thank you, Lord, for bringing us to this point. We ask that you continue to guide us, guard us, protect us, keep us safe, and allow us, Lord, the wonderful experiences here at Concordia. All these things, Lord, we ask in your name. Amen. Okay, so tonight we're going to cover quite a few things as we see them right now. As Ashley mentioned, there are some things that we're going to be able to give some answers for, some things that we're going to tell you what we're waiting for and how we are going to progress in those areas, particularly with a lot of the events that are coming up here. So to start, though, I want to just thank those people that are here and those people that are going to be catching the recording of this for your continued support at Concordia Lutheran High School. I know this year has been really unusual. Matter of fact, it was just over a year ago that we closed down for a couple of weeks, right? And that turned into months and then the end of the school year. But throughout this school year, a very intense focus on trying to do as much as we can with the students, as much as we can in person with the students. And we couldn't do it without your cooperation, without your support. And so we thank you so much for that. And then as we end this school year in the next month or so, 2 months or so, we just continue to ask for that support, know that we're working as hard as we can to get information as timely as we can and to be as clear as we can in our explanations for what we're doing and why. Please know that in all of our conversations, the highlight or the focal point of our conversation is what can we do to maximize the student experience? How can we make sure that we have as many events as possible, as safely as possible, but to be able to provide the student experience as best we can. So that's a high priority for us. And hopefully you see that as we go through not only tonight's information, but over the next several weeks. And again, I want to just give a huge congratulations to our teachers for what they've been able to accomplish this year and at the end of last year. in sticking with it and providing the best possible education they can for our students in a Christ-centered way. And also to our administration. I think Mr. Meyer and Mr. Fairking have done just a marvelous job this year in helping us guide through, again, unusual circumstances, but those that we stayed focused on students and educating them, growing their faith, and do the best we can to round out their experience here at Concordia. So that said, here's some topics that we're going to cover tonight. We've got some suggestions or at least some thoughts on spring break, what your plans might be and how that might look after spring break here at school. So in a minute here, Pat's going to go over those guidelines. Also events between now and the end of the year, like senior honors evening. So we'll talk about that. Prom, JROTC ball, graduation. We'll give some information on that. Also, what we plan on between now and the end of the year for classes, in person, remote, whatever the case may be. Summer camps and summer classes that we have normally scheduled. Then what are we looking at for that? We'll talk a little bit about how the governor's recent announcements with masks and so on and so forth relate to Concordia High School. So those are some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. And again, we're going to try to get to as many of your questions as possible, those that we can answer as definitively as we can answer them right now. It is important to note, and Pat, I'm sure we'll cover this as well, but it is important to note that we remain in close contact and close conversation with with the local health department, Allen County Health Department, in constant conversation with them, especially as we look at events and what the guidelines are at this point in time. So I'm going to turn it over here to Pat and let him talk about spring break and some of the end of the year events coming up.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and prayers and blessings to you and your families during this Holy Week, and happy Easter a few days early. It's that exciting time of the year, spring break. We know we're going to have a number of families that are going to get out of town, get out of Dodge. Might be cashing in a reservation they had from last year. It might be opportunity to get together with family or maybe friends in different parts of the United States. And we wish you safe travels for those as well. We will be back in person on Tuesday, April 13th. That's our plan. We're watching closely our numbers. We're keeping in close contact with our local health department, see if trends go a direction we definitely do not want them to go or want them to see. But as far as spring break, whatever your plans are going to be, we're going to talk about 4 or 5 different scenarios that are possible. They're all based around that Tuesday, April 13th when we'll return. If we're remaining in Fort Wayne and just kind of hanging low and maybe a little bit of sleep in, catch a movie or two at home on Netflix, whatever it might be, we'll see you back here at school on Tuesday, the April 13th. If you're going to be with your family and kind of traveling or moving about, but remaining within your bubble. So you're hopping in your car and you're driving to a place like Florida or another location here in the United States, but you're for the most part staying within your group. You might be picking up groceries at the local supermarket, but cooking your own meals. Whatever you're going to do is always kind of within your own little bubble. You've just moved it out of Fort Wayne to a different location. We'll see you on Tuesday, April 13th when we get back into action here at Concordia. Next scenario is kind of pop in the bubble. What happens if 3 or 4 families are getting together? We're carpooling from Fort Wayne to wherever the destination is. When we get to the destination, we're really mixing and we're rubbing elbows with a lot of people outside of our own bubble, outside of our network, outside of our group, outside of our families, whatever those might be. When you get back home, please keep watch. If you're ill, please stay home and give us a call at school that you're going to be staying home. We're going to try to take care of school what we can as best as we can through an online environment, if it's Zoom or something like that. If you're feeling well, we'll see you back here at school on Tuesday, April the 13th. If you get back and you're just not feeling that well, tell you what, we'll see you on Monday, April the 19th. We'll see you the following week. So we're asking you to self-monitor yourself in those sort of situations. Likewise, if you're flying, we know that airlines have done a super job of trying to make the environment inside of the plane safe. Airports, they're working really hard to keep those facilities and the transit that's going on. We know that flight situations have a lot of different looks to them. So we're going to ask you to be your own judge. If things go well and everybody gets back home and everybody's safe and healthy, we'll see you on Tuesday, the April 13th. If you get back and somebody in the household's not feeling well, please stay home. Keep everybody home. Play this precautiously, play it safely, and we'll see you Tuesday, we'll see you on Monday. Sorry about that. We would see you then on Monday, April 19th. Sorry about that. And we're also going to follow the CDC guidelines as far as anybody that's traveling internationally, especially international air travel. If you're not familiar with those guidelines, we'll get those into our chat box here real quickly for you. But the international guidelines say you're going to fly to a place like Mexico or some other location. Probably going to need to have a test at whatever location you're at before you get on the plane for your return flight back to the United States. And then once you do land in the United States, the CDC is asking you to stay home for a few days. And around day 4, 5, 6 to get a test. And if that test is negative, bring that sheet to school, and we would see you then at the earliest on Monday, April the 19th. So kind of 4 different scenarios here. 1, remain in Fort Wayne. We'll see you back in action here at school on Tuesday the 13th. If you're moving your bubble, but you're staying within your bubble most of the time, great. We'll see you here Tuesday, April the 13th. If you're going to pop your bubble, please be very careful once you get back to town, and just monitor yourself and everybody else that was part of your traveling group. If all is well, we'll see you back here in action with us on Tuesday the 13th. If not, Monday, the April 19th would be a much safer bet. And then those flying internationally, please follow the CDC guidelines for international travel. April the 19th, that Monday, would be the earliest that we would see you there. Good, thank you. I see that Ashley's got that CDC guidelines in there as well. We ready to move on, Michael? Think we can move on with
Yeah, let's go ahead and
Okay.
talk about senior honors evening and prom, ROTC ball, those kind of events.
You know, through the course of the school year, there's a lot of things that we traditionally do year in and year out that we just had to adjust. Some of them we've been able to exercise in one way or another with a little bit of precaution, or with a lot of precaution, or with a lot of alteration to it. We're going to try to finish this spring as much as normal as we can and hit a lot of the highlights that make the end of the school year, make the traditions of high school meaningful and celebratory near for our students, for our faculty, and for our families. So we're going to start Sunday, April the 18th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon would be the Senior Honors Award. There'll be an invitation that goes out, probably to about half, 60% of our seniors are invited to that event for a variety of academic awards that are given on that night. So that's Sunday night, April the 18th, 4 o'clock. And that event always kind of starts the process of ending the school year. It's kind of about the sign that, oh yeah, it is the 4th quarter of the year. And here we go. I see Michael smiling. Anything you want to add on that one?
Nope, just starts the end of the school year. I think that was a good way to term it.
Yeah. We have the JROTC ball. So those are the students that are part of our JROTC program. And it's around April 23rd, 24th. So the following week is when they hold their end of year, kind of their formal event for that. We are in close conversation with our local health department about events like the JROTC ball, prom, and some of those type of events where we have a variety of activities, one being food, another being dance. So prom and that ball all kind of fall within the same sort of guidelines with that. Our local health department have told schools that later this week, probably Thursday night or on Friday, that they're going to send out the next round of guidance for schools regarding those type of events. So about a month ago, they wrote to the high schools here in town talking about proms and balls and graduation events. And there was a strong charge to try to make those things happen. They've got our support to make those happen, easier outside than inside with some of those larger events. But their big concerns were with dancing and with close proximity in order to maintain that 6-foot distance when we have individuals from different households that are kind of in those close confines that you get with a ball or a dance or a meal sort of an event. So we're going to wait and ride this thing out here a little bit as far as some of the finer details. We are in conversation with Sarge and Major, our 2 leaders of our ROTC program here at school, over the spring break time as far as if there's any new updates that would really affect them. But we're planning to move forward with the ball. We're planning to move forward with prom. So prom we have scheduled for Saturday night, May 15th, and that's up at Auburn at the Car Museum. It's a great facility. The neat thing about the facility, if somebody wants to social distance, there's 3 floors of some great scenery to walk around and take a look at it. The function room of that event with our prom is the dance. And that room has a limitation to the number of people. Our county to the north, DeKalb County, like our county here, they have different guidelines depending upon are we live in a blue or a yellow or hopefully not an orange color at that moment of time. So all along, our friends up at the museum have been very supportive. They've got us in pencil. They want to host us. We want to be there for that event as well. The finer details are probably going to be about a month away before we can really kind of say with complete confidence, here's what the event's actually going to look like. We will, in all of these events that we're talking about, continue to exercise safe precautions. So mask and hand hygiene and social distance all become critically important as we go through those events. Ashley, are there any questions that popped up as I've been talking here?
Yeah, there's one, Pat, I'll jump in on this one. So in the fall, we've typically done a National Honor Society induction, and we didn't get to do that this year because the fall was even more restrictive than we are now. To be honest, to the question that's answered, we haven't actually talked about a National Honor Society. That's the first time that one's been brought up. So it's great that we're having an opportunity for people to ask. So that gives us input on some events that we might want to keep an eye on. The quick answer is probably it would be included in the senior honors evening, especially for those seniors that would have recently gotten inducted. There might be an opportunity for us to include that there. But a separate event, again, we honestly have no idea because it's the first time we've considered it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, though.
No, that's a great question. Great question.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate the updates and information on Senior Honors Award night, prom, JRTC ball. Just as a recap, again, doing our very best to keep all of these experiences as intact as we can, and continue to keep a close eye and ear with the local health department. A little bit more information on guidelines coming this week. And I think, Pat, especially one of the things we were talking about throughout the last couple of weeks is, dance, food. The food is one of those, one of those areas that we really have to keep an eye on when we're hosting events with multiple people. And in relatively close contact. So appreciate that information. All right, next is graduation. So we wanted to let people know that originally graduation, Sunday, May 30th, that's still gonna be the date. So right now we are Sunday, May 30th, and graduation is going to occur at Parkview Field this year. So we've been working with the embassy the last several weeks, months, as we looked at color in the county, as we've been working with the embassy, and it just doesn't look like we'd be able to have a graduation ceremony that's going to be an experience that we would want for our students and for their families, and to have enough families to be able to participate in that wonderful event. So we had some success last summer holding it at Parkview. That date is open at Parkview. We have secured that date. We're still going back and forth a little bit on the timing of that event during that day. But it's going to be Sunday, May 30th at Parkview Field is when graduation is going to occur. So gives us the best opportunity to have as many people participate, to give the kids an experience that we have there. So I see a question pop up here, rain or shine. It's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. So part of what we're doing as far as timing and what we did last summer for this graduation event is we had a couple of times booked during the day. We went with a published time, alerting families that in the event that some severe weather or some weather was coming, let's say early, then we can move it later. If it was later, then we can move it earlier in that same day. And so we'll likely go with a similar plan this year, and then monitor the weather as closely as possible, and plan to have that event on that day for that. So at any rate, that's Sunday, May 30th.
One of the great things about having a graduation outdoor at Parkview Field, we can still hold the allotment of each senior, each graduate receiving 8 tickets for that event. If we try to go to an indoor facility or venue, we really lose the ability for that level of participation from family and friends that the graduates would want to invite.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And I think one of the questions there, will this eliminate restrictions on the number of people? Remember, we're still working with, even when we had it last summer at Parkview Field, there was still some type of capacity limits. So we'll still be working with Parkview Field on that information as far as what the capacity is going to look like and that sort of thing. We'll work with them on and make sure that we're falling under their guidelines, their venue. They've got specific guidelines with the county that they have to follow. So we'll be working with that. And as Pat said, the idea is to maximize the allotment that would be at the embassy, which is 8 tickets, so that folks can have their families come and participate in the graduation. So we're excited to be able to offer graduation as we did last year, and to make it a memorable event for our students and for their families. Ashley, you want to pause for any questions here quickly, or do we can we move on?
I can jump in and answer one that we've got here in the Q&A. So the question, will we be teaming up with Meyer or another pharmacy to vaccinate students 16 and older? At this point in time, there is not, obviously there's a lot of conversation in the media. Currently it's Fort Wayne Community Schools making those announcements and those partnerships to make those happen in their school buildings. And there's obviously a lot of conversation in and around vaccines. And again, we encourage families and to make the best decision for your family on those things. And it's not something we're currently planning to do, is host any kind of clinic. We've tried to work with the health department and the pharmacy to provide vaccines to teachers who wanted to get those vaccines. And they basically have put us with other groups. So we were able to get our faculty vaccinated through a variety of ways. We didn't host any kind of clinic here on campus. Where in the past, we've held things for flu shots. I would imagine in the future, if this becomes part of that routine, that we would also offer other types of vaccinations this way that are still not mandated for students or for anyone by the federal government.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Appreciate you taking that question on. And again, just as a short summary recap, again, we're encouraging people to make the best decision for their family. Again, as we have had host opportunities for faculty and staff to be vaccinated, that's been a different schools, or we've been lucked in with different groups to have those opportunities. So appreciate you handling that one. Okay, anything else?
Yeah, Michael, we have one other question that came in through the Q&A. They're asking if graduation will be live streamed this year.
Yeah, sure will. That's the plan, and we want to make it available to as many people as possible. So one of the positive things is a lot of live streaming of different events throughout the year. So that's one of the positives. So yes, we fully plan to do that as well. Okay. Any other questions, Ashley? And we'll move on to some other events here.
We're good to move on.
All right, great. So again, as we mentioned, it's our goal to be in person as much as possible through the end of the school year. So I know we've taken a couple of times where we have seen numbers spike here, and at the guidance and suggestion of local health department support from that, we've taken a little bit of remote breaks. But right now, we're planning on in class, in person, the rest of the school year. So that's our goal. That's what we're focused on. As we move to the summer, for those of you that are interested in summer classes or summer camps, we've posted those. We are having people sign up for those. We are planning on those. There may be, mask restrictions or whatever the case may be during the summertime, but we are planning on having those classes and having those camps this summer. So we want to get back into that. Last year, we kind of went up right to the end dates, and it just couldn't happen. But this summer we're moving in that direction and making sure that that information is out there. So if you got questions on, certainly have those posted on our website as far as what is available. But we are looking to hold summer classes and summer camps this year. Okay, and then we talked about the governor making an announcement here recently about mask mandates, but just to refresh everybody's memory, that the governor also did say that K-12 schools will be under the same guidance, the same guidelines, and throughout the end of this school year. So students will be in masks, we're maintaining the distance requirements, those types of things. I know that outside of school, things will be a little bit different. We're going to remain vigilant and diligent in our protocols here at Concordia Lutheran High School. want everybody to end safely through this year and have as many opportunities for our students and families as possible. So just to refresh everybody's memory on that, if you caught that or didn't catch that, but schools are under the same guidelines that they have been under. So masks will continue to be worn, and we're continuing distance requirements and all of those protocols that we've been working under through this year, through the end of the academic year. So Pat, did you want to add anything to that at all? Or?
Yeah, a couple of things here. Like this week's going to be interesting. We've got a couple of families that have already called in because their travel plans started early for spring break. We've got a couple of families that have got something pretty exciting for their family plan for this upcoming week. So they've called in and say they're just going to keep their kids at home for learning and try to Zoom in. We're going to try the best we possibly can, but there's also going to be a limitation as far as what we're really capable of doing in those kind of unusual or unique situations. If there's ever been a year where schools have worked closely with families on what support a school can provide to a family, this is the year. We get that there's going to be some requests this year that we'll probably never hear again down the road once we get on the other side of this pandemic situation. If there's a way that we can make it happen, we're going to explore how can we make that happen. But if we've got a teacher that's got just an imbalance of those elements this week, teacher might just simply kind of treat it as the old-fashioned e-learning day. Here's the work, guys, email it out, and let's get on with life. So I want to attack that little piece in here as we're just talking about the excitement of technology, what it allows us to do, but we're not set up to be broadcasting lectures wherever the backseat of the car might be on Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, driving down whatever interstate we have went on there. As far as in the classroom with reminders, just your help and your encouragement and your support for proper wearing of the mask. Masks have made a difference for us so far this school year, and we know it's going to be important that we finish the end of this school year with that same level of diligence. If your child's not feeling well, please keep them home. Give the school a call our attendants if you need to talk with the school nurse, and talk with scenarios through that Corey Oberlin, our school nurse. She's doing a super job of helping out in those sort of situations with that as well. Michael, would now be a good time to talk a little bit about some learning gaps, or save that for a future webinar?
Yeah, let's save that for future webinar.
Okay.
Josh is going to follow up on a couple of questions that have come in.
There have been two questions that have come in. One is on specific events, the choir and ACAP, a cappella banquets and those kind of end of the year events. And so I'll answer that one first. So that really falls into the same bucket for us as proms and JROTC ball, those kinds of things. We're really waiting for the new guidance that comes out from the Allen County Board of Health to help us to provide the safest environment. And we definitely assume that they're going to loosen up the restrictions a little bit on us. That's what we're hoping for. They've told us to wait so that we can have the best possible scenario for our end of school year events. They've all but told us don't apply for anything, don't put in for anything you don't have to until after we put these new guidelines out. So that's every end of the school year event that we would have traditionally done. Again, we're trying to preserve as much student experience as possible. So the plan is to have all those things. But in order for us to maximize what the Allen County Board of Health is going to let us do, we need to wait until just after spring break when we all get back, and we can start putting those requests in once we've had a chance to kind of wrap our heads around what those look like. And then the other one is about the number of attendees at events, and specifically was the seniors honors evening. We haven't set any numbers for that yet. I would assume we would live stream that as well. We have not done that in the past, but it's certainly something we can execute in our auditorium pretty easily to live stream that event for family members who might not be able to attend or can't travel for whatever reason. So something we can add to the mix. So I guess I just made that policy here on the fly. So we'll be live streaming senior honors evening. I guess I'm volunteering to do that as well, which is awesome. But we don't know exactly how many people will be able to be present there. But typically it's not a humongously attended event. It's really been reserved for seniors who are honored and their families. And I don't see us abandoning that going forward. We have plenty of room in our auditorium to handle that. There's also a question just popped up about band tour at the end of May. At this point in time, there are not any of those tours happening. So band and choir tours are not happening this year. So that's where that one falls. Yeah.
If you do have a child that's part of our choir or our band, just kind of brace yourself. Just expect a busy spring. I think there's a little bit of effort here from Ms. Porath, Mr. Slicker to try to recapture or try to provide some of the events that would happen spread out through the course of the school year. Tied in with both band and choirs are the state competitions, which are another big thing that happened near the end of the school year for those events. All of those events are done through recordings and virtual elements. So they're going to be probably a Saturday or Sunday where the band or the choir director are going to be asking your son or your daughter to be at school for a little bit of time to get those recordings taken care of as well. Those of you that were around either last night, we had a choir concert, and on Thursday night we had a band concert. Both of them were just absolutely super. It was great to listen to the kids play once again or sing once again. And hats off to Mrs. Porath and Mr. Slicker for not only the quality of music, but for doing both of those events safely, following a lot of precautions and doing those very, very well with that. We, as Josh was saying just a couple of minutes ago, we had to wait till almost the last week before we got certain guidance on a couple of elements in our questions with our local health department. And again, our local health department, they're trying to make these things happen for schools as well. So our appreciation for their support and their encouragement throughout the school year as well.
All right, thanks, Pat. Appreciate that. Ashley, anything else that we popping up right now to answer?
Nope, we're good to move forward.
Okay, great. So we're going to continue with a couple of these webinars as we go through. If you've got questions at any time, feel free to reach out. Probably the best is to reach out to Ashley, aweehy@clhscadets.com, I think is probably the best way to do that. But feel free to reach out with questions. We'll try to get answers to those as best we possibly can. We'll continue to communicate. We know that this is especially for what the last year or so has been. We know we appreciate your cooperation with it. Know that we're doing the very best we can with as many of these events as we possibly can, and working hard because we want to provide the best experience we can for the students. I want to remind everybody our theme for the year is Excel in Grace with Christ at the center. And I would say that as we selected that theme and as we've lived that theme this year, we appreciate the graciousness with which you have dealt with us. And we hope that we return with the same grace in return. We know it's unusual, but we still celebrate the fact that we've been able to do as much as we have been able to do so far this year, and to be able to end strongly as well through the rest of the school year. So we excel in grace all the way to the end, and we appreciate you keeping that in mind as well. So again, thanks for being with us this evening. The next webinar, look for it. It'll likely be that second week of May is what we're aiming for. It'll be focused then on a little bit more graduation, potentially looking at, depending on what we know at that time, for more thoughts on the summer and beginning of the next school year. So look for that date coming out for a webinar the second week of May, and we'll look forward to providing more information at that point in time. God's blessings to you again during this whole Holy Week as we celebrate Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, and of course Easter Sunday.